What's up, everybody? Brandon Lilly here with the Be Legendary podcast by Sorinex. Today I'm at the University of Louisville, sitting here with my friend, Coach Mike Sirignano, and he's been someone that I've gotten to know a little bit over the last couple months, gotten to be around some of his staff, gotten to be around when they're working out and everything. And I'm really, really impressed, not only with what he's got going here, but just who he is. Doesn't necessarily fall directly in line with the way that a lot of people do things. Just a true individual, man, and I'm glad to have you here.
Man, I appreciate it, Brandon. Thanks for coming back and hanging out.
No problem. And tell me a little bit about this morning. We saw the guys go through some stuff a little bit earlier. Is that pretty typical for you, or is that where you at in your progression for this summer?
We're finally probably getting to more of our complex stuff. As you saw, we hit cleans in 3 different positions, or some type of clean modality in 3 different positions. So we're finally to a point right now where the guys are moving weight at a high velocity.
Right.
And that was something that we had to be patient for a long time. We're 6 months into this thing,
right.
Arrival. So, it was to a point where we had to generally get them strong.
Right.
And, until we got them to that point where there's some type of foundational strength, they weren't moving weight at high velocities. And now, I'm pretty happy with the progression. So, from here on, as their training age increases, as we talked about many times in the past, we'll get more complex with with the things we do. But today was mostly a speed day in the weight room. This afternoon, we're going to go out and condition.
Yeah.
A little bit different philosophy. You're talking about the way I do things is, most people probably run first.
Yeah.
I'm going to get them tired. I'm going to get their legs heavy. We go out and see how tough they are. So, and I articulate that very well to the players, and they understand what we're doing because, again, and you might have heard what I was talking about, is it comes down to, success. You're going to have to go through some type of pain.
Yeah.
Whether you give up or you break through that wall, I think that really defines people.
Yeah.
And, here on my wall right here, you got 8 inevitable steps of pain for you to succeed. 1, you will feel pain. 2, you'll bring what to give up in you'll want to give up prematurely. 3, you will lose relationships. 4, people will discourage you. 5, you'll be hated for no reason. 6, you will doubt yourself. 7, you will fail. And 8, as long as you make it to 8, you'll succeed. So I kind of live that day to day, hour by hour, minute by minute with these guys.
Well, that's one of the things that I took away, big reoccurring theme from Summer Strong this year was you had a lot of guys that were uncomfortable saying, I'm a success story, because what they can feel and what they can remember so many times is the overcoming of failure, and it very much goes back to that is, Tate Fletcher's this guy who I won't say stumbled into success, but he made a lot of choices early in his life that caused pain and disconnection. And then in the last, 15, 20 years, he's nearing 50 years old, but he's finding his stride and he's finding those successes, but it's all on the heels of that hurt and that pain that you're talking about. And I heard you talking to the guys out here about drug addiction and how that's covering pain and that kind of thing. So as a coach, when you're looking at this staff, this group of players and teaching your staff how to guide these guys, coming from a program like App State where you guys really turned it around, you guys really made a name for yourselves as somebody who was going to show up day in, day out, coming into a program like Louisville who's had some high times, some good times, and now they're kind of going through some low times and hard times. How excited were you to get here, or how not scared, but like hesitant were you to get here to see what you were walking into?
Well, I fear 2 things. I fear God.
Yeah.
And I fear deep water in the ocean, but I'm still going to get in that thing. So I was never scared. I knew it was a challenge, and I love challenges. I knew if we're patient, I think the key to success is patience, mm-hmm. right? A lot of people dive into what they want to accomplish or to chase a goal, and they're not patient enough. So many conversations with my staff, hey, Coach Mike, why don't we do this? We're talking about velocity-based training a few seconds ago. Why don't we do this? And maybe we can manipulate them a little, to move the bar faster, this, that, and the other thing. Or we could just wait. Right. We can be patient, and we can check the box every day and dot the I's and cross the T's. And eventually, if we trust in the process, the basics, what we talk every day, in working through those hurdles and or thresholds, we'll eventually get there. And that's what we're seeing right now is we're flourishing. It took 6 months.
Right.
A lot of people don't like to wait 6 months. But I think to answer your question in full, I think success is looked at in thousands upon thousands of light. It always depends on the individual. You could people being rich that's being successful.
Right.
Being able to sustain a family on a farm, that's being successful. I think it's all what you look at success as. For me, I take it day by day.
Mm-hmm.
If I can get a kid to improve in something, even in the littlest a bit, that's successful for me. And I know I can grow upon that. And being positive along the way really helps that out. So as far as a leadership technique is, I don't put everything in. There's nothing in writing. It's kind of like relationships.
Yeah.
You don't know what you might not know what your parents are going through, 2 states away, or what your girlfriend or wife might be going through until you talk about it and react through adversity, let's just say. And we take it as we go, and we're transparent, we're honest, and if it's not good, it's not good. If it's good, it's good.
Yeah.
So we just grow from those little journeys along the way, and so that's how I kind of define success.
Right.
And just it's one little battle at a time, because really at the end of this thing, what's it take for me to be successful? Well, we can say we're successful at App State.
Yeah.
The smoothest, winningest transition in FCS to FBS history.
Yeah.
We did that. Will they have continued success because of the culture that we created there? I believe so.
Yeah.
Now, here at Louisville, do we need to change things? Do we need to fix the culture? Do we need to get stronger? Do we need to get faster? Do we need more talent? Do we need to feed them better? Do we need to hydrate them better? Do we need to recover them better? Yeah, these are all tools in the toolbox, but that takes time. It's educate, facilitate, and create a habit. Right? If we do those 2 things a year down the line, or 3 years down the line, or 25 years down the line, that habit will create success in some type of way. But I think more importantly, you got to be detail oriented, but then also you got to do it with love.
Well, that's the thing, man. In talking to you, you just exude intensity. You exude this idea that I very much understand as a player, and as a coach, I look for guys like you that, you may not, and I'm just not saying to you, but a lot of the coaches that I've had, they were just passionate people. They might not understand what I needed exactly, but they coach with passion, and they helped me find what I needed. And I think a lot of times, and not to pinpoint anybody out, but some of the programs that I see, they try to have this nice, concise binder that works year to year to year to year to year. And I get that you've got things that overlap year to year, but I think your approach to it, to looking at these guys as an individual group this year and an individual group next year, there's going to be carryover. But you talked to me the last time we spoke about relationships. How important is that coming in here to gain that trust from these guys, especially at a program like this? Not trying to say that these kids are bad kids or these kids don't want to be here, these kids don't understand, but coming in as an outsider to a group of guys that have already established relationships, how did you gain that trust here?
Well, I think it's just being transparent, being honest with them. And then, I think a lot of coaches, they want to be bulletproof. Mm-hmm. Like they don't show emotion. I think they hold this hierarchy maybe above their athletes or their clients or whatever, that they're always right.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I screw up every day, and
right.
I tell them, and I let them know, because when they screw up, I'm telling them. So, if I make a grammatical error on the training card, or if I, give them cues that are wrong, this, that, and the other thing, I'll stop right away, and in front of 30 to 120 men, hey guys, that's my bad. I'm wrong.
Right.
And I think that that ability to be transparent and be touchable to the athletes, I think helps with the relationships. But I think the number one thing is, man, you got to be humorful.
Yeah.
Like, what we do is really, really hard. Like, we've talked about this in the past. Like, my experience isn't based off my knowledge that I learned in books. It's based off what I actually did in my life.
Mm-hmm.
From cutting the lawn, like we talked about with my dad, to winning New England and United States titles. I mean, getting under the bar under time, time under adversity.
Right.
I've faced so much adversity in my life. There was always people there to pick me up. That's why I'm how I'm at where I'm at right now. And then I'll face adversity every single day, whether it's in my personal life, here at work, professionally, within myself, and I'll face that adversity. But knowing that I put the time in and I kept my head down and I stayed detail oriented and I fought. I think that's the biggest thing is you fought. And I relied on people to show me the way, I think is what will eventually make me successful. Because I can tell you right now, I don't deem myself as successful just because I get to sit at this beautiful university and in the head man's chair. That doesn't make me successful. What makes me successful is when Johnny Smith, 20 years down the line, calls me and says, hey, Coach Mike, hey, I got 3 sons. I got a daughter. I'm a successful businessman. Right? Remember when we did that punishment run on Saturday because I showed up 5 minutes late? Man, all that means the world to me right now. And those are the things right there that I pride myself for.
Right.
I throw 400 pounds, 500 pounds around. I don't get excited for that stuff anymore. Back in the day I did. Now it's more development men. And I think because a man can always handle his business, right? So it don't matter if you fail, you succeed. You're always learning from whatever you're doing. And the man is the one that, at the end of the day, deems himself successful by taking care of his business. So I think that's my approach.
You're probably going to get a lot of flack for saying that, in this common day and age, and everybody's saying toxic masculinity and whatnot. I think what you're walking into in a lot of cases, or not just you, but a lot of these coaches are walking into, is the potential for toxic masculinity, to repeat the failures of our fathers, to repeat these mistakes over and over and over. So to have a guy like you that's a lighthouse for some of these guys, or maybe even their only positive male reinforcement in their life, you're trying to redirect a lot of stuff for these guys. And how much of a young coach did you know that you were getting into this? I mean, you got to be part psychologist, you got to be part dad, you got to be part brother, part friend. But definitely, it's all packaged in. So how do you find your rhythm in that?
Well, I look at it, I think first of all, I do this because I want to be around like-minded individuals, right? So I know what these kids are going through, I've gone through in my life. We're very similar in the way we're raised, the way we go about our business, the things that we do that might not be deemed socially acceptable all the time.
Right.
But as you saw, like that kid came in here before we started. He has an issue with his girlfriend.
Yeah.
Now, during that lift, I'll get after him. I mean, it's as intense as it gets. I can, we're getting each other's face. We're doing it to work. But, right there, when we went in that closet over there to have that private conversation, I had to give him a hug and tell him I love him.
Right.
I think that's where a lot of people get lost is their ego grows and grows and grows and grows and grows. And they can never step back from the actual work and guidance they have to do. So I like to call myself Uncle Mike. Yeah. I'm that cool uncle.
Yeah.
I can get after your butt 1 minute and I'm going to love you up the next minute. We can, you can't do this and this, here at the university, but we can also go chill at the house and have a beer,
right.
after hours. What I mean? I'm that type of guy, when it's work time, I'm 100% on. Once that whistle's off around my head, I put it on my desk, I'm normal Uncle Mike. So then come in here and talk to me about anything. And I hold, and we've talked about this before. I mean, I've done a lot of bad things in my life. I've done stuff that's not socially acceptable. So like who am I to hold judgment on their problems?
Right.
I can only help them and lead them and guide them because again, it comes back to 25 years down the line.
Right.
This kid was under my guidance. I mentored him. Yeah. Did we win games or did we lose games together? Yeah, absolutely. Does that deem us successful? I don't know, but it holds me a job. It gets my bills paid. Right. But I mean, here at the end of this, I want to be known as a guy. I want my name to be remembered.
Yeah.
Mike Sirignano helped me out in this way. He wasn't just a coach. He wasn't just, the guy that yelled at me or held me accountable or kept me disciplined or made me stronger, made me faster, whatever it is. He held me accountable. He made me into a man. And because of that, I appreciate him.
Yeah.
So
you grew up in Boston, right?
Correct.
And that's a tough city to grow up in. So do you see yourself in a lot of these kids? I mean, that's one of the things with my son. I have this internal going on with this dialogue. It's like I want him to be more like me. I want him to be tough like me. I want him to be hard like me. but I don't necessarily want him to go through the shit that I went through.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And that's something that I wrestle with all the time, because it's like, he's a great kid and he's getting good grades and he's doing all the shit that I was not.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, but then I look at myself, and it took me 30 plus years to really get the bus going in the right direction. Do I want that for him, or do I want to help him step on that? How do you deal with these guys that are on the far right, maybe just looking at the worst case scenario for their life? And how do you bring them back? And then how do you toughen up a kid that's on the left side, who's always had it cush, mommy and daddy who took care of everything? Like, how do you find that balance within yourself? Because I know with a troubled kid, I'm 10,000 more. I'm prepared for that because I've been through it. Mm-hmm. With a kid who's not struggled, not had hardships, not had some of the things that I've gone to, it's hard for me to connect with that, because it's like, well, then just toughen the fuck up. Mm-hmm. Like, it's tough, man. Is it totally individual, or do you try to bring them to your middle, or what?
I think on the right side, it's more me. It's more what I've been through. But I can look back and now as a 34-year-old man and say that, man, why did I do that crap?
Right.
All I did was throw mud on my parents' name.
Right.
And that to me is the world, right? So I think for those guys, let's just say they're down on 7th Street, which is a bad area here in Louisville. Like, I'm walking in that place like I own it, and I'm pulling you out, and we're having a truthful conversation. And the thing about it is, a lot of times those guys do that stuff because we're scared. Yeah. Like, I did what I did when I was young because I was scared. You know, I was scared of acceptance. I was scared. I wanted to be the guy back in the day that everyone liked. Mm-hmm. But I couldn't do that without acting out. Or I couldn't do that without fighting. I couldn't do that without stealing. I couldn't do that without vandalizing. So I acted out. And then all these people gravitated around me. Yeah. And then we all did this together because it was the cool thing to do, or this, that, and the other thing. So I think those conversations are easy for me. I mean, at the end of the day, it's scare tactics. Right. Like come in here. Hey, dude, you're doing this. You're doing that. Let me tell you what the result of doing that is for extended amount of time. Right. And we just talk about it. Now the guy, I think that's fairly easy. I mean, the guys on the right side are on the other side of the fence that aren't doing right. Now, the guys on the left side, I think you got to show them. Mm-hmm. I think you can show them, then they can be tougher. And that's exactly what I'm talking about today. Is we lifted first. We do a lower body workout today. I'm going to go run 3,000 yards with them this afternoon at high velocity. Yeah. Timed. If you don't make your time, you got to go again. There's nothing stopping you from making your time. Right. But this right up here, your brain, right? You've got to have that mental toughness to get through that. And every time we have a success, Johnny Smith, who might not be the toughest guy in the world, hey, Johnny, you told me one day you wouldn't be able to do that. Or you said this weak comment to me. Everything's noted. And you take those little wins, and that thing just keeps piling up. It's kind of how the pyramids were made. Yeah. I mean, you just keep piling them up, and eventually, boom, you got one tough SOB. But I think, it's the same thing as you. Like, we talk about how we grew up as, I had, Dominic's 19 months old now. It's like when he up until probably like a month and a half ago, when he started, getting towards his terrible twos, yeah, I wanted to give, like love, hug, and go buy him stuff and this, that, and the other thing, because I can. Right. My parents can do that. Did I go without? No, I didn't go without because my parents love me. But, I mean, it wasn't ever easy. Right. But now I find myself, he falls down and cries, and someone goes to try to pick him up. I said, no, leave him on the ground. Yeah. Right. Why are you always hugging him, babe, my wife? Just because he's crying don't mean there's nothing wrong with him. He'll learn, So I think adversity is good. I think adversity makes a man. I think adversity makes people successful. So I want my son to feel adversity. I try to create adversity with my words, either what we're doing modality wise, whether what we're doing perceived exertion wise, what we're doing, as far as timeline wise. I try to create adversity and then spin it in a positive light when we're successful. Because every time I create adversity, Hurricane Mike, they start calling me, right? It's worry. Right. Can we make it through it? He's going to kill me. Why are we doing this crap? Blah, blah, blah. But on the back end, once we are successful, I can articulate it and analogize it in a way where these guys, that light bulb starts to heat up. Man, the guy's right. He's crazy, but he's right. And I think those little victories day in and day out through adverse situations, it builds a man, it builds your character. And that's why today, and just like you, we're sitting here today talking.
Yeah, that's one thing that I go back to, and I was glad you kind of segued to this, because that's something I wanted to talk about too, was self-forgiveness for your wrongs. I think we're the hardest on ourselves to be successful, and then we're also the quickest to judge ourselves when we fail. For me, when I started trying to make better choices, when I started looking at myself as a professional rather than just a guy that was trying to get through life, trying to slip through the cracks where I could, I started trying to understand why I'd done things that I'd done. And I started clinging to people like Bert Soren or, and Ingrid Markham, people that were in my life that were like offering, hey, you're a good dude. You just got to make better choices. Mm-hmm. For you, when did you start to turn that corner and take these choices? Because I think when you have a kid who struggles or, grows up kind of rough or tough, there's a survival instinct in that, right? And I see you sitting here today more so than a success as a survivor, because you've taken those lessons and applied it in a different way. You've taken what you've learned on the street, what you've learned from a hard upraising, and said, hey, I can continue down this way, but if I put just the same amount of effort into something that can actually qualify me and pay me, mm-hmm. that's a better way to go. So when was that kind of transition for you?
Man, I tell you, we talked about how I've never had a mentor.
Right.
So I've never had a mentor in this industry. I've never worked for someone. I've kind of just, I don't say it in a cocky way. I'm self-made.
Right.
I'm self-made because of, I guess, the chances I've taken.
Right.
23 years old, started a business on a credit card. Opened a gym, 5,000 square feet, bought $40,000 of equipment. Next thing you know, I'm making $300,000 as a 23-year-old. Well, I got nothing to show for it anymore because I funded my career for the next, basically decade till I started making money. So I think the turning point for me was when I went to URI. I was the head strength coach there.
Rhode Island, right?
Rhode Island, yep. I had no idea what I was doing. It was,
Was that a good thing or was it a bad thing?
It was a great thing.
Yeah.
It was phenomenal. So everything was based off my training. I had no idea how to bridge the gap from the vocabulary terms that I learned in school. You know what I mean? So I couldn't apply the sciences that I was taught. I knew this. Mike Sirignano could get under a bar and compete his butt off.
Right.
Or Mike Sirignano could go to the bar and fight someone and compete his butt off. Or Mike Sirignano could stay up late till 4 a.m, wake up at 6 a.m, and go work a 12-hour day. You know what I mean? So, but for 3 years there, I burnt the candle at both ends. I gave terrible training programs to kids. I beat the crap out of them. Were we successful? Yeah, we were successful, more than successful than URI's ever been because of the toughness that I created. But the biomechanical injuries and, just wearing the kids out, this, that, and the other thing was terrible. We're split jerking 365, 400 pounds. Like, come on, guys. Like, what are you doing, Mike? So there was a period when I left URI after 3 years, and it was one of those things where, I'm living out in Providence on, Bar Avenue, Federal Hill. Mm-hmm. If you love Italian food, you got to go there sometime. Clubs everywhere. I'm burning the candles at night. I'm doing that. I'm waking up in the morning. I'm killing the kids. There's no rhyme or reason for anything I'm doing. I just knew that I could do it, and that's not what most athletes are built like. And then, I got a job at Elon University, and I had about a 30-day period there where I didn't work. It was kind of transition period. And at that time, I'm like 25 years old, still the youngest head strength coach in the country. And I look back, I started going over injury reports. I started talking to my athletes. I hired one of my athletes to be assistant. And they're like, Mike, we're so beat up, like tons of injuries, tons of overuse stuff, this, that, and the other thing. And I'm like, all right, let's look at these programs. Let's look at the volume. Let's look at the sets. Let's look at the reps. All right, let's look at your lifestyle.
Right.
Like, you're just showing up to work, writing this program real quick because that's something you've done before.
Yeah.
Right. And you're doing it for 8 weeks in a row. Did you do that for 8 weeks in a row? No. I probably would do it for 2 weeks in a row, take 3 days off or whatever, and then get back after it. So that was kind of that point right there where I had to do a lot of self-talk, a lot of self-listening more than anything, and just, hey, you can be good. You have the characteristics to be good at this. You have the knowledge. You've been around smart people. Now you just got to find a way to manipulate it logistically, semantically, and then be scientifically sound on a day-to-day basis. And I think that time was really, I mean, flip 180 program change totally.
Yeah.
And that's kind of when I started to self-analyze myself every single day. Instead of just showing up to work and throwing workups up, lifting heavy, doing this, that, and the other thing, I started to self-analyze and, go home, work at night, and just educate myself, this, that, and the other thing. Because the concepts were there. They just weren't sound. And I think that was the point, and I met my wife.
Yeah.
We transitioned together down there, and we had a hard talk. She's like, hey, listen, stop screwing around.
Yeah.
You're 26 years old. Like, it's time to be a man. Like, you can't be going out all night. You can't be doing this. You can't be talking to other girls. You got a job. I'm moving down there. And the cool thing about Carolina is she's from Poland.
Oh, okay.
So she came over to the United States to make money with her family at 21. So I'm sitting there, and I'm listening to her, and she's crying. And shoot, I'm crying. And I'm like, all right, well, if I'm not going to do this for me, I'm going to start doing this for the athletes and my soon-to-be wife. So that was kind of the turning point. And it's the same thing I tell my staff is, as you know, I don't give them any direction. Like, I want them to be Jeff Stanford. I want Armand to be Armand. I want Coop to be Coop. I want Mike Juan to be Mike Juan. I'm not going to set any guidelines on the way you coach or manipulate your athletes. That's special and unique to you.
Yeah.
There's only one Mike Sirignano. So I think that's kind of that was the turning point. And then what in telling my staff is every day be your own head coach, right? I analyze and take notes on almost every interaction I have if I know I can improve that interaction. So I just have a database.
Yeah.
And, I self-analyze that every day, and I self-analyze myself on how I coach, this, that, and the other thing. And if I'm doing that, I know this circumference of success will keep coming. It's a continuum, and I'll keep getting better at things that I need to get better at, and the things I'm good at, I'll continue to get better at those things. And that way I'll grow, just kind of like money. You put money in an account with your financial advisor, it grows. It grows slowly, but it grows.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, that's kind of, but that was the point right there. That was, I was 26 years old. So 9 years ago now.
Yeah. So, I think it's awesome because without that I don't want to call Rhode Island a failure, but the recognition of failure in your programming evolved you as a coach. And I think so many times for coaches, what they want to do is they want to get this perfect system right out of the jump. They want it to look clean. They want it to be clean. They want it to be effective. But until you're applying it to athletes, like we were talking about at lunch today, I was a part of a system where they were trying to analyze on the fly. And sometimes you have to let the experiment run itself so then you can analyze it entirely instead of micromanaging this. I think it's awesome to have that. The downside of that is some kids got beat up, some kids had some injuries and stuff, but you learned, the kids got tougher, the kids progressed and got better because you created some winning at Rhode Island. So now when you're coming into Louisville, you've got a great staff with you. Like, you named some names off there of guys that I respect. I will say publicly right here, I think you've got one of the best staffs in the country, top to bottom. Is it because you allowed them to be themselves, or do you think you set a precedent for just being a good person and being a good man, doing the best that you can every single day that you can? Is it a precedent of that and they follow that, or do you turn them loose to be themselves?
Well, that's a hard question. So I think when everyone first starts working for me, and it's just like these athletes. I always ask, whenever someone gets in trouble, they're not doing something wrong, or they're doing something wrong, and we got to have a hard conversation. Perception comes reality, right? Right. Hey, Johnny, perceive me. What characteristics come to mind? The number one thing all the time is asshole.
Yeah.
And I said, all right, follow that up. Give me 5 more characteristics of Mike Sirignano. Caring, loving, intense, whatever it is. They start getting more positive. So with that being said, I think every time people come work for you for a reason, right?
Right.
They want guidance.
Right.
Well, I never learned that way.
Yeah.
Right. And, I hate to say this, but, I've been able to have quality life for a fairly long time, whether that's successful or not. Again, I think that's up in the air. In 30 years, we'll find out. But, they come to me, they work, they want guidance, and I won't give them guidance.
Yeah.
Right. I give them a few policies, procedures. Hey, here's the workout. I ain't going to teach you how to squat.
Right.
You're a strength coach. Teach someone to squat. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to sit here and have meetings all day long and say this is how a clean should be.
Yeah.
I'm not. You hear my cues, you do with what you want of it and make that kid better. Right. So at first, they all think I'm an asshole because I never give them information. I never help them out. They're struggling. Jeff comes to me all the time. Hey, man, can I talk to you about this? Yeah, man, you can talk to me about it. Am I going to give you the answers? No, I'm not. Why? Because no one gave me the answers. Right. So, and you might be mad at me because of it right now, but talk to me in a year.
Right.
Talk to me in 6 months, whatever, and you'll be better because of it. And you did it all by yourself. You didn't rely on me.
Yeah.
Right.
I try to ask people, especially with this format and then other formats, a lot of times with athletes, I'll just ask them more questions. Mm-hmm. I'll give them more questions to ask. It's like, you need to be asking questions, but I think maybe you're asking the wrong ones. Think about these questions. And when you can get those answers, that's when you'll start to find your own truth. So how do you retain these guys? Like, if you're building these guys to be their own head coaches, if you're building these guys to be extremely successful, how do you maintain and retain such a quality group of people without having them go off on you?
Well, I think at App, they left. They became successful. They left pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Mac Greenhall, he was my assistant director, whatever you want to call it, at App. And, he was offered a job every single year because we had success. And people knew what we were doing was good. And, I just told him, he said, what do you think about this? No, not right.
Yeah.
Matt, I've known you since you were 12 years old. Don't take it.
Yeah.
But I'm not making enough money. I hate Boone. I just trust me.
Right.
And thank God for Carolina, because she probably saved Matt more than I did.
Right.
And now he gets hired by a peer university to be the head strength coach at Georgia Southern when I'm still at App State. I think that speaks volumes of what we're doing and the concepts or the philosophies or the culture we're producing. But for me, like, keeping guys, like, I don't want to work for someone that manipulates me.
Right.
Right. I don't want someone that's always hanging over my head. So I think that's why people stay around.
Yeah.
It's because they have freedom. Now, do they have to do certain things correctly? Is there an intensity level? We probably have more closed doors conversations here with athletes than any university in the country. Yeah. And I let those guys have those conversations on their own. And I want them to have them on their own because that's what makes them better. It comes back to relationship.
Right.
It makes them better. So I think, Jeff's going on in year 3 with me. We got Coop from a peer ACC conference.
Yeah. And,
I've known Satch forever, and we worked together at USC. And me and Satch, it's funny, we butted heads almost every day at USC. And there'd be weeks where we didn't go talking.
Yeah.
But, over our ignorance and over our egos, we know together we can do special things. So, how do
you strike that balance? Because that's one thing. I think if you were to talk to people that know me, looking at my life, I've gone from this always switched on, always intense, always like putting my pride out there, ego out there first, and then trying to step back and be somebody who looks at themselves a little different, who looks at themselves as part of the bigger picture than just the whole. And, I think for me, I still struggle with that because, dude, there's still parts of me where I love everybody, but I still want to whip somebody's ass like right now. Like, how do you find that balance for yourself? Because I've been around you enough and I've looked back through your social media. You love to mix it up with these guys. Like, you were talking to me about lifting some stuff and I was impressed. And then I saw you lifting it. There was one day you just laid down and were repping 315 on the bench, squatting, deadlifting, whatever it is with these guys. So how do you maintain that? I'm going to kick your ass out here one day, but I'm going to hug you in this over here one day when you need that too. Is that just you? Or is it a thing that you're always striving for? Because I think for me, I can go too far one way or the other too easily. Yeah. I always try to strike that balance.
Yeah, I think, I think it takes patience. I think Coach Satterfield's taught me patience more than anyone in my life. Like, just to trust it. I mean, and for me, and it comes back to my dad. Like, bro, I can't remember. I think the last time my dad told me he loved me was the day I got accepted to college.
Yeah.
And that was when I was 17 years old. Like,
right.
But does my dad love me?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. He'll do anything for me. And I know that. And I see that every day. Right. But looking back on our relationship and the way he raised me, 95% of the stuff I love that he did for me, the way he raised me.
Yeah.
How do I get better?
Mm-hmm.
How do I become a better dad? How do I become a better mentor? And I analyze that. Right. So I know for the longest time in my life, I had animosity against my dad because he never showed me that he loved me. He never told me. Sorry, let me say that again. He showed me that he loved me, but he never told me he loved me.
Right.
So I had animosity about that.
Yeah.
And it made me angry with our relationship, and we used to get in fights and stuff all the time. Now, I say to the kids, and I'm tough on them, like you said, just like you were saying, is you're tough on people. But you gotta show that, I guess the word sensitivity. Because if I had that little bit of sensitivity from my dad, he worked the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Right. But if I just had that little sensitivity, that little nugget of security,
right.
You know what I mean? I would never question any that.
Right.
Now I can look back and say, dude, that guy did everything for me. He still does everything for me. You know what I mean? But back then, like, just young-minded, immature person, I'm walking off the football field. I got 19 tackles, 4.5 sacks, and 2 forced fumbles. And he tells me I did something wrong. Yeah. I'm like, Dad, what are you talking? I'm the best player out there, and you're telling me I did something wrong. Like, come on now.
Right.
You know, and then after that conversation, you have a great day on the football field, and your whole animosity all the rest of the night.
Yeah.
You know, so I think it's just, and geez, I don't know. You got to do it. You know.
Yeah.
For me, like, that word love, and I'm proud of you, and things along that nature is, it never was said to me.
Yeah.
And I know what it and how it made me feel when it wasn't said.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to say it, and I forced myself to say it. And then on the other aspect is like, man, I got one chance at this life.
Right.
Ain't no rewind button.
Yep.
So if I can still lift heavy and I can still mix it up with these boys, because here's the deal, like, I'll never do anything with them that I haven't done before, or anything I won't do with my son or your son or anyone else's son. So I still got to be able to do it. So it's that balance, it's that fight, and then, like, you got to hold something over them, right?
Yeah.
Whether you wrestle with them and beat them or you bench more than them, like, you got to have that upper hand against them.
Did you ever have a physical altercation with your dad? Because I can remember one time after I started lifting weights, I was coming in the house. I was probably puffed up pretty big, like chest out and everything. And I walked by my dad, and I was exact same situation. I can remember back before very, 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 very recently, there was only a couple times that my dad was like straight out, he loved me, it was just something that wasn't said. It was expected that you knew it, but it wasn't said. Yeah. And I walked in, and he said, "Oh, bodybuilder," because I was eating protein or whatever. And I walked through the kitchen, I shouldered him, like just kind of shrugged him off and bumped shoulders with him. Dude, he put me on the ground so fast and was like, "I don't care how big you get, I will whip your ass." Mm-hmm. And it was one of those things. It was just a check. It was like, don't get too big before you really been out there. Because, dude, my dad sounds a lot like yours. He's a hard worker. Just put in the hours that I couldn't even see, So did you ever have that where you just kind of tested him a little bit?
Oh, yeah. Probably every day. I mean, jeez. And that's, that was the thing. Like, I tested him every day, and I was scared of him for the longest time. I mean, definitely afraid of my dad. But I wasn't afraid of the fight.
Yeah.
If I got bad grades, if I had F's on my report card, I went to sleep.
Yeah.
Like, you ain't waking me up.
Right.
When we got in an argument, I remember one time, I think I might have been coming home from training or something. And I'm like, "Dad, I need chicken breasts or this, that, and the other thing. Cook me chicken breasts." And, who the F you think you're talking about like that, blah, 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 this, that. And I'm doing all this hard work for you, this, that, and the other thing. You don't care. You don't want to take care of me, blah, blah, blah. And I just want some chicken breasts and some milk. That's all I need. And then boy, you don't talk to me like that. And next thing I know, we're rumbling. There's holes in the I mean, it's crazy. I'm punching doors because I don't want to punch him. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
no, it happens. And I think that's the true test of time. The true test of love is like, if you can get through battles like that and know on the end, at the back end of it, that there's still love for each other. I mean, jeez, there's nothing more powerful than that, right?
Well, that's what I think, man, is to me, family is not what they try to feed you on the Brady Bunch. It ain't this perfect picture where everybody gets along. Like, to me, I was talking to somebody about this the other day. Somebody who says that they love you and you've never been through the fire with you is bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, love comes on the end of the fire.
Right.
Like, when you're willing to stand with somebody, I talk about it all the time, but Fight Club, I talk about that being like a love story. Like, everybody sees the masculine, the fights and all that kind of stuff. But what it comes down to was a guy was trying to be somebody else. You know, the narrator was trying to be Tyler Durden to get the girl. And it turns out she was willing to stand with him and hold his hand while the world burned at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
That's love.
Yeah.
Like, he dicked her every way that he could and told her to get the fuck out, leave, be whatever. And then she still was willing to stand with him. That's the testament of love for me, is people who will stand with you through the fire.
Mm-hmm.
When you're coming to a place like Louisville, when these kids a lot of times have felt rejection on the football field, you know, they didn't perform the way that they were expected. Is that something that you feel like is fundamentally missing in these kids' lives, is the love from this university? Or is it just in general, everybody needs more love?
Well, I think the generation needs more love. I think they need more guidance, like cell phones, smartphones. I mean, I feel like there's no more conversations. There are no more arguments. Like,
right.
All right, son, if you didn't do this, go to your room. Well, he's in his room. He's in his happy place, right? So he's on his phone. He's on Snapchat. He's on Instagram. He's on Facebook. He's doing whatever. He wants to be there.
Right.
Right. Back in my day, that didn't happen. So, I mean, I think our boys were broken 100%. And I think, do you tiptoe around that? No. You tell them straight up. And there was probably in some video that we made. It was on social media. And then the head man backs you. Yeah. And that's the most powerful thing. Right?
Well, I know you guys got
the message is the same.
You guys got a good relationship, you and the head here and at Satterfield, right?
Mm-hmm.
How's that, evolved for you? Was it something that you set down and you were like, look, this is the way I operate, this is the way you need it, or did he kind of set the guidelines for you?
I don't think there was any guidelines. Matter of fact, I think that's made us so special over the years is, hey, Sat, if you're doing something wrong, I'm going to tell you. And if I'm doing something wrong, you tell me. And vice versa. We do that to everyone in the organization. But the message is always family. The message is always love. The message is always attitude and effort. The message is always leadership. So as long as that never changes and everyone's on the same page, and we're able to have conversations, I think it's just mutually between me and Sat and everyone on the staff, really. It's just like, we're boys. We just like to hang out. We just happen to work together.
You said you guys went to the Derby together, right?
Yep.
How was the Louisville experience? Because I know Lexington has got an experience. Boone's got an experience. How's the Louisville experience treating you?
Man, it's phenomenal. This is the one, besides, Boston to me is like the sports towns of all sports towns.
Yeah, that's great.
City of champions. That's what they do is they win championships. But, you have no professional sports here. You got the Derby. Yeah. So that's a whole different language. Like talking about horses. Like everyone wants to talk about horses. And I'm like, I've never touched a horse. So, but as far as sports town, phenomenal.
Yeah.
Absolutely phenomenal. That's all they care about is sports. And, and I think they're patient. And I think that's a good thing, because there's a lot of things you got to fix and there's a lot of, but they want you to win. They want you to be good. They want a family atmosphere.
Right. Well, does this university kind of suit your mindset a little more? There's a little bit of a chip on the shoulder at Louisville because UK gets a lot of the press. They get a lot of the notoriety, as the Kentucky's university. Does Louisville have a chip on its shoulder, you think?
Yeah, I think if I was at Alabama, I'd still have a chip on my shoulder. But I think the university does. I think you hit the head on the nail. It's second fiddle to Kentucky.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, it might be second fiddle to every other ACC school, the tier, Clemson's and all of them, Florida State. It might be second fiddle to them, but that's what I love. Like, That's what we did at App State.
Yeah.
I remember no one believing in us our first year there. And we were 1-5, and we go into Troy, and it was an explosion of just belief. There was nothing else but belief, and that we could compete with these guys. It was 5 losses in a row of, man, little battles being won. We can compete at this level. We can compete at this level. Then we go to Troy and we win. We win that one. We kill them, and we win 17 in a row.
Yeah.
Or 19 in a row. I forget what it is, but I mean, it's the same storylines about to happen here.
Yeah.
I mean, you got Louisville football, who was in whatever league 10 years ago. I don't even know.
They went from the Big East. They were something else before that.
Yeah, they were in like Conference USA.
Yeah,
Big
yeah,
East,
Conference
like,
USA.
So they're
Big
just
East,
building. They're building. So what's happening right now is that motor's revving, and it's getting bored out. It's revving some more. Pretty soon here, where once they figure it out and once the belief is in place, I think you can be pretty special because you got everything here.
Right.
I mean, you got city, you got country, you got big businesses, UPS, Amazon, KFC, all that. I mean, it's all right here, and it's in the hotbed of recruiting. You're 4 hours from the southeast, pretty much. So it's just this locomotive, and it's slowly building. It just takes time. They did it really fast.
I saw you sitting here with a kid this morning, and I know that every strength coach is a part of the recruiting detail. I would imagine that some parents that come in here and they hear your story and they hear your approach and they hear your methods, I would think that they're probably like protective of their child. Speaking of this generation, do you have these kids who automatically click with you because of where they come from, and then do you have parents that resist you because of where they come from?
Well, I think, I would agree to that. First of all, I hate recruiting.
Yeah.
I mean, I just absolutely hate it. But, it's for me, recruiting is you're going to get to know me for who I am because I'm not changing.
Right.
And I'm with these kids 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. I mean, I'm the beck and call. So if you don't like who I am, if you don't like my energy, you don't like my vibe, I'm going to tell you exactly what I do every day. I'm going to tell you there's going to be good days and there's going to be bad days. And a lot of times that is met with enthusiasm.
Yeah.
But then when the wolves are thrown to the fires, it's like, holy crap. He told me he was crazy, but he really is crazy. You know what I mean? Like, was it a selling point? No, he really is crazy. So I think you get to that point, and that's kind of, once they're here, you get to that little hurdle of, wow, Coach Mike and the staff really are crazy. They have these kids doing extraordinary things every day. Then that's the hurdle that we got to climb over.
Yeah.
Right? But eventually, hey, Coach Mike was MFing me last week. Told me I couldn't do nothing, this, that, and the other thing. Mom, he just told me he loved me.
Right.
What? She calls me up. Mike, do you tell my son you love him? Yeah, I do. I told you I do this for a reason. Like,
right.
I'm doing this for them to be successful. Like, if they ain't successful, I ain't successful. Of course I love them. This, that. Oh, I read you all wrong. I got you. I ain't here to hurt no one.
No, that's cool, man. And I think you become someone that I look up to for how you handle yourself. You're definitely an individual. And you're one of my favorite people to talk to because you absolutely tell it like it is. Mm-hmm. How much shit do you get from other coaches in your profession? Because not saying that there's it's like any profession. There's people out there that are great at it. There's people who appear to be great at it but suck. And it's just like anything. You don't strike me as the kind of guy that's going to kiss anybody's ring or kiss anybody's ass. So how do you kind of fit in? Because you do rub people a certain type of way. Mm-hmm. And that was one of the things that I was talking to the guys at Sorinex when I was talking about coming up here at first. Like, you'll never meet anybody else like him, and that's a good thing. Like, I think it's a good thing because, dude, I think you got so much good going for you. But how do you feel like you're perceived from other coaches in this profession in particular? Jeez,
I would say probably intense. I think you got to throw that A word around, asshole. Like you said, honest.
Yeah.
I call it how I see it, and I don't worry about any, the way people think about me. You can everyone holds perception on everything, right? Especially on people.
Right.
I love people watching.
Yeah.
Just like I perceive people, right? But and that's why I stay true to who I am. I don't try to fabricate any stories. I don't try to fabricate my results. I don't try to fabricate some guru status. I am who I am. I'll always be that way to the day I die. So if you don't like that, that's fine with me.
Right.
And if you got words about it, we can have words about it.
Yeah.
Right. But it is what it is. So that I keep my I guess my sleeve tight. I don't have a huge group of friends in the industry. I have a few dudes that I talk to every day, like-minded individuals that kind of attack the day on in the same way. Other than that, I don't deal with any of the BS. Like I told you, conferences ain't my thing.
Yeah.
I'm not there to honk anyone's horn. I'm not about that. I could care less. If you want to feed me information that's going to help me one day and be humble about it, let's do that. But we can say that, I've won a ton of games in my career over the 12 years. I got, 8, 9 rings in 12 seasons. But, I'm not going to sit there and rub it in anyone's face. So I don't expect anyone to do that to me. So I like to be humble. I like to be honest. If we got issues, we got issues. If we're going to have fun, we're going to have fun. And here's the thing, I'm at the extreme level of every spectrum. If I'm going to have fun,
yeah,
I'm blowing that sucker up. It's gone. If I'm going to sit in the woods and hunt, I'm sitting in the woods and hunt all day long.
Yeah.
If I'm going golfing, I'm golfing. You know what I mean? So I do every to the extreme, the umpteenth level.
Yeah.
And I do that with relationships. Satch, he had a personal issue he had to take care of a couple months back. His wife's back in New Mexico. Hey man, I'll be back in 24 hours. No, I don't want to see you.
Yeah.
Go take care of your business. We will be fine without you. No disrespect to you, Satch.
Right.
But your family is way more important to me than whatever you're doing here. So I just think people that, I don't know. I could go on in days to talk about this industry and egos and fluff, this, that, and the other thing. I don't like to do it. It is, guys, it's simple. We pick shit up, we put it down. We do it fast or we do it slow.
I got to tell you, this, we're coming up on an hour, and I try to keep these at about an hour for your purposes and the listeners' purposes too. But dude, I see a lot of weight rooms. I see a lot of coaches, and I see a lot of people, and no disrespect to them. Your weight room is one of my favorites to walk into. It's one where I feel welcome, and not because of who I am or anything like that. I feel like anybody that wants to come in here and see what you're about and see who you are, it's kind of an open book. Like you said, you're transparent, you're honest, you repeat it. And I just don't think that too many coaches out there are looking to make a name for themselves in the other ways, like who they network with, what dinners they go to, what conferences they go to. This is how you make your legacy, is in here in the weight room. And it starts with the kids, like you said. So the definition of success, as you talked about, depends on the person. That's the way I look at Legendary. I don't care if somebody's got 1 million followers or they got 1,000. I don't care if they got $1 million in the bank or they got no money in the bank. To me, Legendary is defined by the individual's actions and the ripples in the pond. Mm-hmm. What is legendary to you? Because that's the title of our podcast, and it's the mantra of Sorinex. If we're going to do something, if we put something out there in your facility, it better be the best that we can build it. It better be a legendary thing for us to do that. What do you view legendary as?
Chase, I think legendary to me is grit.
Yeah.
I think, if I can call myself, we talked about this last time you were here, there's only a few people in my industry that can say they made a profession out of it.
Yeah.
Right. There's only 6, maybe 10 guys that said that they've actually done it for 30 plus years.
Right.
And they can retire and go to the beach. Right. So for me, I think legendary is grit. I think legendary is being happy. And I think legendary is quality of life. Right. And if I'm checking those boxes every day, if I'm fighting for something, if I have grit towards something, I'm doing the right things.
Yeah. I think that's
I'm not becoming complacent.
I think that's part of the human existence is the struggle, the fight. Mm-hmm. I think that's why you see a lot of people have these miserable downturns when they retire. They're not fighting for anything anymore, mm-hmm. right? So I definitely see that in you. I see you got a lot of fight. I see you got a lot of good going on. We going on a hunt this year. I got turkeys, whitetails, and then I'm going to try to get you in on that big Chino hunt, right?
100%, man. I just got to find the time to do it. I love hunting. Bert got me into hunting back in the day.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things. It's kind of like golf is to me. You know, because weightlifting or lifting weights used to be, now I'm just so broken up and beat up. But now I got to identify in something. And that's competition or survival skills or being able to provide for them. I got to identify with something, and that makes me happy.
Hell yeah.
And if I'm happy and I can still deal with everything that I have to deal with on a day-to-day basis, I'm content.
Yeah.
And if I'm content, I'm being successful. So that's it, man. Day in and day out, one day at a time.
You eating at Hammerhead yet?
No. I keep saying it. So
you're going to have to put it down. We're going to go. Because that place 100%. Is so good.
I know our old line coach wants to go.
Yeah.
Because he's a big foodie. We got, and I think there's the other place called Sharks. Have you heard of that one?
No, I haven't heard of Sharks.
So our players went there the other day, and it's one of those deals like when they run out of food, they're out of food, and it's like in the basement of a house. They're like,
oh, that's it, Hammerheads.
So they might just be calling it Sharks.
Yeah, because there's a big shark on the front.
Oh, that's why.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. That's the place. Yeah. No. So. Yeah. Yeah, dude. Well, listen, man, this hour went by so fast. I hope this is the first of many because I love talking to you and I love being around you. So, man, thank you so much for welcoming us to your weight room and just having me here and sitting down with me. I appreciate it.
I appreciate it, bro. It was awesome.
All right, man. Well, as always, I always tell people, stay strong, love yourself, and love somebody, and be legendary. Have an awesome day. We'll catch you next week.